I know hell's getting ready to come up here, but it's not going to be hell yet. But our next speaker is quite familiar with the role of law enforcement, how important the county sheriff is, you see. Here in the Commonwealth, the sheriffs have been tucked under the governor. Is it the behest and the whims of the governor? I've never heard of such a crazy thing. You see, our sheriffs is an actual constitutional layer of government that exists that is no longer recognized here in Massachusetts. Well, our next speaker can tell you different, and it's a great pleasure. It's the first time having him here at the rally. I've met Sheriff Richard Mack, boy, it was a number of years ago. We were up at Faneuil Hall, and we had a pretty impressive event up there, and he came out and he knocked it out of the park too. And that's why I had to reach out to him, see if we could bring him here to talk to you folks today. So what I'd like to do now is bring up to the podium Sheriff Richard Mack.
Well, one of the biggest mistakes you made next door in Connecticut, it's the only state in history that has gotten rid of the office of sheriff. Wow. The only state ever. And I saw a sign when I came into the Hartford airport, said that Connecticut was the Constitution state.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what I said. You can't get rid of the person that's supposed to be in the county defending the Constitution and then call yourself the Constitution state. You know, it's really good to be with you. It's the first time I've been at this rally, but it certainly isn't my first time here. And as Dave said, I've been to a lot of rallies. And man, somebody who could vouch for that would be Larry Pratt. How many times have we shared the stage, Larry? Don't you wish we would have got like $10 each time we did? Yeah. I will tell you, the first time I met Larry Pratt was 1994. And Larry, why did I meet you in 1994?
You were a misbehaving sheriff.
I was a rogue sheriff. According to Sarah Brady, I was rogue. You know? Yeah. And I've made, don't feel like the Lone Ranger or the Lone Patriot. I've been attacked by the Southern Poverty Law Center quite a few times. Larry Pratt and I are SPLC domestic terrorists.
Thank you.
Judge Napolitano, same thing. Ron Paul, who else?
Sam Adams.
Samuel Adams, yeah. Very good. I love all of those people, and it's an honor to be associated with every one of them. I had a goal to shake the hand of all 40 that they had in their magazine, but they keep adding to it, and so I only got about halfway through. But it's an honor to be here with you. And the reason that Larry Pratt and I met in 1994 was because I actually did something really strange. I tried to keep my oath of office. I know, it's really unheard of. But I took that seriously, and I'll tell you what happened. I was a peace officer. I began my police career in Provo, Utah. I actually tried to get in the FBI, because that's what my dad was. My dad retired from the FBI, and I tried to follow his footsteps. I was not a constitutional conservative. My father and mother were not. But one day at the police department, my chief said something that startled me. I didn't really know how to argue with him because I didn't know enough about it. But he said, I believe, and he told us this at a departmental meeting, that only police and military should be able to keep and bear arms. Period. End of story, yeah. So normally, now I would have said, I think we need to have a talk, and I would stand up and object. I didn't know enough about it, so I started looking it up, and I had some other concerns. I wondered why we took an oath that we never talk about. I wondered why we never studied the Constitution. And I wondered how as a national police community that we keep a solemn, sacred oath to something we have never read. So I started studying it. I started studying the Constitution. I started studying the Founding Fathers. It took me about 3 or 4 minutes, not even 5 minutes, to find out what the Founding Fathers said about the Second Amendment and how wrong my chief was. Now, he was a good guy. He was a real professional lawman and very good supervisor. But he didn't know anything about America. He was actually originally from Holland. He moved here when he was a boy. And it showed. His socialism came through and he never got rid of it. But the thing about it was, he taught me a lot about law enforcement. And then I taught him a lot about the Constitution. Because I actually studied it, and I decided that at one point in my career, I had 11 years on with the police department in Utah, and some crazy people from Arizona kept calling me and asking me to run for sheriff and move home to Arizona and run for sheriff. And this is one time my wife agreed with me that her parents were crazy. Because we didn't want to move. And I didn't want to run for sheriff. I'm sure I'm going to quit a department after 11 years, run home and lose running for sheriff and be unemployed. So that wasn't on my list. I said, I'll retire and then I'll move home. Well, we made a list of things of why we couldn't do it and shouldn't do it. And we sent it home to them. And we thought that would settle it. And then and I'm telling you, I don't know what happened. I really don't know what happened. It was some sort of epiphany. And 3 weeks later, we packed up the kids and moved home to Arizona and ran for sheriff. And to this day, I can't tell you why. My wife is a little bit more, well, she goes, oh, you did that extradition in Arizona and you checked into it. Yeah, I checked into it. And I still don't know why in the world that we did it.
That's where God wanted you.
I believe that with all my heart. Yeah. And so the miracle happened. I won. And I hadn't even lived there. I had not lived there for 12 years. I had never served in government or in law enforcement there, but my dad had. And I was into sports there, and I had a little bit of a name there. Other than that, I had no name recognition, and just all my buddies that I used to play football and basketball with were still there, and they remembered that, but that was about it. So I said, look, I've got a lot of experience. I'm new blood, and I'm also old blood. And I went to about 90% of the doors, really worked hard, and we won. Nothing really happened much the first 4 years. I was sheriff, and we actually did one thing though. We trained our deputies in the Constitution. Something else unheard of. And so then in 1993, I just got reelected, and my wife and I were watching TV one night, and Bill Clinton they showed him signing the Brady Bill. And he used, and Larry, maybe you can tell me later, why he used 13 pens. He used 13 pens for some reason. I don't know, maybe it was his lucky number or something, but there was some symbolism as to why, maybe it took them 13 years to get the Brady Bill passed. They worked on it a long time. NRA and Gun Owners of America were fighting him all the way. And then Bill said, do you almost feel sorry for the guy now?
No!
I mean, the stupidest things I've ever heard are from that guy. I mean, the latest Clintonism was norms have changed in terms of how much you can do to a person against their will. That's a quote from the President of the United States and the star of the Democrat Party. There you go. No wonder gun control works so well for them. Because how could you believe this guy and still support this guy if you're not a complete idiot? So he says this: the Brady Bill will make our country so safe that even our nation's police won't need to carry guns anymore. Yeah, all the police just started turning in their guns after the Brady Bill was passed, And the lie has been the same every time they passed one of the 20,000 gun control laws. This will make you safer. obviously they've lied. They've been wrong all along, haven't they? But you know what? Gun owners have made us safer. And every time that an incident stops early, it's from some citizen with a gun. Yeah, love it. So when that happened, I really wasn't having a heart attack about the Brady Bill. But then just 2.5 months later, January 21st, 1994, 3 agents of the BATF show up at the Sheriff's Association meeting in Phoenix. Now, most of the states out here in the East and Midwest have dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of counties. You know, like Kentucky has 116. Okay, Connecticut used to have several, but not anymore. Delaware only has 3. That's the smallest state with counties. But Massachusetts has basically gotten rid of their sheriffs, their paper service. But you still have some good constitutional sheriffs out here. What's his name? Tom Hudson. Yeah, he's a good sheriff. So they came to our meeting and they handed us a document and said, this is what you sheriffs have to do. There's only 15 of us in Arizona. There's only 15 counties. And he says, this is what there's 3 agents with the BATF giving 15 documents. And there's only 12 of us at the meeting. It takes 3 of them to come to 12 of us. And they said, this document details what you have to do in order to comply and enforce the Brady Bill. Whoa. You're telling the sheriffs of Arizona, yeah, well, this is nationwide though, that we have to enforce your gun control law known as the Brady Bill. Yeah. And I said, wait a minute. I said, you guys know you can't tell us what to do. And I was really shy. I was the youngest sheriff in the state at the time, and I'm still trying to feel my way around, even though I just got reelected. And I'm going, this isn't right, you guys. You know the federal government, the president, cannot tell sheriffs what to do. And he goes, oh yeah, they can. They passed a law.
Doesn't mean anything.
Why didn't you tell me? I said, I don't care if you pass 500 laws. We don't work for you. You can't fire me. You can't hire me. And he goes, oh, the Brady Bill says that you can be arrested if you don't comply. And it did. The Brady Bill is the first time in American history where a law conscripted and commandeered the office of sheriff for federal bidding under a threat of arrest if we failed to go along. This is serious stuff, folks.
Absolutely.
And every one of the sheriffs there, Democrat and Republican alike, were cussing up a storm about how this was the worst law in American history. And then we went on, the meeting lasted another 6 hours, and the cussing waned. And the chairman asked every sheriff, what do you want to do? And every sheriff had a chance to speak. And all the ones that were saying, we can't do this, all said this now. You can't fight City Hall. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
And so it came my turn and I said, who wants you to believe you can't fight City Hall? I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. I really had no idea what I was going to do. But I said, I'm not going to do this.
Right.
And I said, there's 2 things wrong with this. One, we all took an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution, and I don't know if you've read it lately, but the Second Amendment is an integral part of that Constitution. We're under solemn oath to protect the Second Amendment. And who are we supposed to protect it from? The Constitution and the Bill of Rights were never intended that we would be protecting this from street gangs or criminals. You protect it from the real criminals, the government. And so all of them just kind of looked at me like a deer in the headlights, just, well, what are you, you're too young anyway, go home. And so I drove home. And during that 2.5, 3 hour brooding on the way home, I didn't know what I was going to do, but I was just thinking and thinking, and just brooding and brooding. And when I drove up in my driveway, I said, I'm going to sue my own federal government. I'm going to sue the Clinton administration. If any of you think I'm going, oh, wonderful, I get to sue the Clintons. Oh, and by the way, history will say and hold this historical fact for me, but I sued the Clintons and lived to tell about it. I thought though, then I thought, oh, I don't have to worry about this. Because there's no way my wife's going to let me do this. You can imagine, Carol. You know, so I know, it is, and it's like the Bundys too. I know who's in charge of that family, and it's Carol Bundy. You know, she's the boss. And I might have been the sheriff, but my wife was the boss. And so I went into her, and she gave me a hug. I hadn't been home for a couple of days because I was at meetings in Phoenix. She tried to give me a hug. I didn't give her a hug or a kiss or nothing. I just said, I'm going to sue the federal government over the Brady bill, and I hope you're going to support me. And she goes, okay, once again, slow down. And I told her what it was about, told her what I was going to do. She goes, I don't have any idea what you're talking about. She goes, I don't understand any of this. But then she goes, but I understand you. And ma'am, she had the same thing that you said a minute ago. She goes, now we know why you were supposed to be sheriff. And she had that insight. And to make a long story short, I didn't know what to do. I called the NRA. I wasn't a member of the NRA. I called the NRA and they passed me around. And finally I ended up in the office of one Richard Gardner, and he was a lawyer for them. And I told him who I was and what I wanted to do, and the next line from his mouth changed my life forever. And he said, Sheriff, we've already been preparing the paperwork on this case, and we've been praying that you would call. And then Larry Pratt with Gun Owners of America got behind me, and he came all the way out to Arizona and brought the governor of Arizona with him and gave me some sort of award called the Gun Owners of America Second Amendment Award. And by the way, I have a table right over here, or a part of a table right over here, so afterwards come over there and talk to me and join the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association. All you Oath Keepers should be members. Every one of you citizens should be members. How are we going to spread this word and do what we're doing if we don't get people all across the country helping us? And that's what this is about. So now I'm a former school resource officer, and right now I actually teach high school. I'm a high school teacher. And you know what? I can't take a gun to school, and I can't defend students or teachers from shootings. It's against the law. I'm still working on that, and we're working on it. And I even asked one liberal teacher, I said, do you mean to tell me that if somebody starts shooting up this school and killing kids and murdering, and one's about to shoot you, you do not want me to pull out a gun somewhere strategically hidden in the school and shoot that guy before he shoots you or another student? And she goes, no, I don't. I don't want you to do it. It'll make it worse.
What?
Yeah.
Brainwash.
I know. That's exactly what I said. I said, man, you liberals are brainwashed. I know. So it's astonishing how far this has gotten and how far off common sense we've gotten. But I will tell you this. I teach one thing when I go to my classes, and I want to share this with you today. What is government for? Where do we see in all of our foundational documents and in the history of America, why do we have government? Why do we need government? Do you know what most kids are going to say? Government is here to take care of us. They'll say that, especially, you know, with welfare. Their job is to take care of us. I said, no, government isn't here to redistribute wealth, or to make sure that you're taken care of, or to make sure that you're fed, or to make sure that you're clothed, or to make sure that you're educated. All of that, whose responsibility is that? Most of them say parents. I said, yes, it's parents and it's yours. That's your responsibility, and your parents. I said, government in the United States of America has one specific job. And it's not even in the Constitution, is it? It's 10 words. And I want everybody to make sure you have this memorized. It was always read by Lively, the lawyer, and a lot of other people have referred to it today already. It's 10 words. that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. It almost sounds religious, because it is. And if you can understand that police, what is their job? That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. You mean I'm not supposed to win a prize for writing the most traffic tickets today? I'm not supposed to win a prize for making the most DUI arrests today? I'm not supposed to get a prize or a trophy because I made a big felony bust today? Or I solved a murder today? Or whatever else it is we do every day in law enforcement? I harassed the citizens. I made a DUI checkpoint stop and arrested 50 DUIs. So of course it's constitutional because we had a lot of statistics to vouch that it was constitutional. Do you know that actually police chiefs and sheriffs will actually say that statistical analysis makes something constitutional? And you know, when we went to the United States Supreme Court, now 6 other sheriffs joined me in this lawsuit. And if you look it up, you'll see another name of a sheriff, and his name is attached to it, actually more than mine. And it's Prince. He was the second one to join the lawsuit. He filed about 6 weeks after I did. He's a good man, I love him. How his name got attached to the case more than mine, I don't know. I don't really care. I'm the primary litigant, it's in there, and what I care about is that you read it. And I actually have the case in a Reader's Digest version. I put it together. I put all the highlights in this, and it's over at the table I was telling you about. It's the most ignored and disobeyed decision in the history of our country. Congress violates it every day. It was written by Justice Scalia. God rest his soul. It was a 5-4 split. It was close. But we still won. I think they're still valid even if they're 5-4. Yeah. That part I do know. But there's some amazing miracles in this thing, and the whole thing is miracles, and we still live in a day and age of miracles. And the Bundys are going to talk about some of those miracles a little bit later. But I really want you to have this. So meet me over there. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. Is it any wonder that our police don't actually follow protocol or treat us correctly when they don't know what their jobs are? That their job is to, what is it? That to secure these rights. It is to protect liberty. Do you know the badge we wear on our chest? It's not something to beat people with. It's a shield. We are there as guardians of the Republic. We are there as the guards of the Constitution, protectors of liberty, protectors of freedom. When you're never taught that, you think you're going to make mistakes when you're out there with the people? And that's the problem. We are not training constitutional guards or sheriffs or deputies or investigators. We're training people to support numbers and this horrible catastrophe known as civil asset forfeiture. How crazy can it get that we now have police going after people and confiscating money and using it to supplement their departmental budgets? How absolutely crazy have we become? Is it any wonder police brutality cases are mounting? They're not properly trained. And CSPOA, the national organization that I'm in charge of, we train police in the Constitution and our duty to the Constitution. In this book I wrote back in '09, The County Sheriff, America's Last Hope, on the very first page, I quote Thomas Jefferson when he said, "When all government shall be drawn to Washington as the center of all power, it will render powerless the checks provided and become as venal and oppressive as the government from which we separated." End quote. My question in this book, it's only 50 pages long, in this book to every sheriff and every citizen is this: when government becomes venal and oppressive, to whom can the people turn for peace, safety, protection, and liberty? if it's not the county sheriff. And we learned a horrible example in Clark County during the Bunkerville situation, when a sheriff failed to keep his oath, failed to protect, failed to enforce the Constitution, and failed to have some courage to do what was right. And in that situation, we should have never heard of the Bundys. We should have never heard of the BLM. We should have heard of a sheriff doing his job to protect the citizens. So, we teach sheriffs to do this. We have lots of examples now of sheriffs who have stood for the Constitution. Sheriff Clark was our Sheriff of the Year at our CSPOA convention in 2013. The one that I probably love the most, the story that I love the most, is Sheriff Brad Rogers from Indiana. You see, an Amish farmer in his community got attacked and raided by the FDA. And the Amish farmer was very compliant and passive, just like their religion professors. And he let him come in, said, fine, come in and check. He passed all of their checks. And they still wanted him to go before a grand jury in Detroit. Well, Elkhart County is not that close, and his horse and buggy probably wouldn't have made it. And so he asked the sheriff for help. And the sheriff went and looked at the entire situation, and he informed the FDA and their lawyers that if they came back in his county, that he would arrest him for trespassing. Sheriff Rogers was the second sheriff in America to have our CSPOA constitutional sheriff training. He knew what he was doing. He knew the Constitution. He was afraid he was going to be arrested. Because guess what? They told him, you're not arresting us, we're arresting you. And you interfering is a felony. Oh, that obstruction of justice. When you interfere with criminals from the federal government trying to harass an Amish farmer, a defenseless Amish farmer. And so, Brad called me, or Sheriff Rogers called me, and we devised a letter together, and we responded. And we sent it back to the lawyer for the FDA and the U.S. Marshals. And about 4 days later, he got a certified letter, or at least he and the Amish farmer got a certified letter saying that everything had been dropped. And they left. And that Amish farmer has been FDA free for almost 5 years now. Yeah. Every time in America, when a sheriff has stood up, he has won.
Yeah.
Every single time. And it's happening more and more. Because sheriffs are starting to realize that keeping their oath is a sacred duty. That protecting the Constitution is what the Founding Fathers had in mind. And that there's three separate branches, and we work for the executive branch, and the judicial branch and the legislative branch are not our bosses. We don't work for them. Okay? Will we work with them? Sure, when they follow the Constitution, which doesn't happen very much, but we will. And we make that commitment too. That's a commitment we make to the Constitution. My dear friends, we have so much work to do. And let me close with just this one sad experience. There's another Amish farmer. He's in prison right now. His name is Sam Giroux. And a year and a half ago, he was tried and convicted because he made a little Vaseline salve known as chickweed salve. Any of you familiar with chickweed? I wasn't until he did that, until he invited me to his farm, showed it to me. He uses beeswax and rosemary and eucalyptus and chickweed. And I put it on some of my moles and I put it on some of my scratches. When I did a video with Ted Nugent, you can watch that. Ted Nugent and I talked about this. Ted Nugent just grabbed it and just started going like this, you know, put it all over his hand, you know. It's very innocuous. It's very much, it smells a little bit stronger, but it's just like Vaseline. And because he made this and did not register with the FDA, he was arrested, was convicted by a jury, and I went to the sentencing June 30th of last year. He had to be in prison. They didn't allow him bail either. Wow. You know? So here's this Amish farmer not allowed bail because he's such a danger to the community. And then was sentenced June 30th, 2017 to 72 months in prison. And the judge gave 3 reasons. This man has never committed a crime, never hurt a soul. And the judge gave 3 reasons. Now that tyrant of a judge is named Danny C. Reeves. Danny C. Reeves. And he's a tyrant, and he's a traitor, and he's the one that should be prosecuted.
That's right.
Now, while I was there, I had tears running down my cheeks when I heard this judge say 72 months. He didn't say 6 years, he said 72 months in prison because 3 things. He has shown no remorse. And I told his son, I said, tell him he'll probably get 6 months if he apologizes. And before the trial, before the hearing started, he said, I've already asked him about that. He won't. He didn't do anything wrong. He's not going to apologize for doing something that he didn't do. For something he didn't do. I said, okay, I'm just letting him know. Okay? Then the judge said he was obstinate. This man, this good, honest American man, got 6 years in prison because he was stubborn. Oh, and one other reason. He failed to register with the FBI. Those 3 reasons. An Amish farmer sits languishing in prison away from his family and still has at least another 3.5, 4 years before he can be up for parole. His sons call me frequently. They borrow a friend's phone or a neighbor's phone and they call me and try to see if there's anything. We have been working, the CSPOA has been working for a 1.5 years to try to keep him out of prison and to get him a pardon from President Trump. We have contacted so many people that you would be shocked have done nothing to help this man, including, are you ready? Including his own Senator, Rand Paul. Call him and ask him why he won't do it. I spoke with Rand Paul face to face about this situation. Spoke with his legislative liaison till I was blue in the face. He and I are now enemies. We don't even talk. He changed his number so I couldn't call him back anymore. Because finally I said, whose job is it to get this in front of the president and to help this man? His senator or a former sheriff from Arizona? And he knew the answer and so did I. And we're still trying. I've talked to all of the members of the Freedom Caucus, door to door to all those ridiculous offices in Washington, D.C. I actually know my way around those offices now. I've been there so much. I tried to go up Trump Tower to talk to one of the Trump children. I want some of you to go try that someday. I actually got past Secret Service, but did not get past the guards at the elevator. And I showed them all my documentation, showed them my badge, showed them everything. Nothing. Okay? They were more helpful, though, than anybody in Washington. And we're getting zeros and crickets from the people who believe in freedom in Washington. Makes me wonder. I've sat down with Washington Post, New York Times, on and on with other reporters. Nothing. Okay? It's really sad. And we have other people on our list. Do you know that the federal government, Department of Education, is now using SWAT teams to go after people who don't pay the student loans? Watch it. Watch it on YouTube. And you can look up our website, thefreedomcoalition.com. Thefreedomcoalition.com. CSPOA has made that website, and we list some people there, and I know what you're going to tell me. We want to add people to that. We put 53 ranchers on there. We included all of them. We put the Hammonds on there. We put Shane Cox and Jeremy Kettler from Kansas. who are now felons the rest of their lives because Eric Holder wanted to prove that gun control laws of the federal government superseded those of Kansas, and they arrested those two guys. And they're felons the rest of their lives unless Trump interferes, or unless Jeff Sessions would finally do something. So, I don't count on that. My dear friends, I'm asking you to join us in this holy cause of liberty. That's what this is. And when I finished my term as sheriff, I spent full time working for the restoration of the Constitution. Now I'm still spending full time with that because I'm teaching children about this Constitution. I only work Monday through Thursday. I still have weekends off, and I try to travel and work for this as much as we possibly can. And of course I have a month and a half off during summer, which is I have that right now. I make my commitment to you that we will continue to try to get innocent people out of prison, of which there are not just dozens or hundreds, there are thousands. And we want to form a commission and help get numerous names in front of Trump so he can pardon these people. I really like where Trump is going with these pardons. He's not waiting like a coward at the end of his term to pardon people like all the other presidents have done. Only when they leave office, when they're lame ducks and it doesn't matter, they start pardoning a bunch of people. There's a lot more than Kim Kardashian's friend Alice Johnson that should be pardoned. And if Kim Kardashian could get the president to pardon somebody, why can't we? I believe in freedom. I believe in the proper role of law enforcement. I believe in the rule of law. It has not been applied equally or fairly in this country. It's time that we restore that. Let's restore the rule of law, and let's get back to the principles upon which this country was founded. May God bless us as we do that. Thank you so much.